Get those Cybermen out.
Welcome back to the Cybermen, guys. It's Sam and Rosie here. Hello! We're going to do a top 16 deck list video for the Oceania regional champs that just happened. We have all the deck lists, and I'll go through them now. The deck lists are in the description if you prefer to just look. There's a lot of cool stuff there. So let's get to deck number 1. Alrighty, so here's the table at the end. Obviously I came first. You should have seen my video of my deck list, and I'll put that deck profile in the description as well. And then we have the top 16. This is what I'm going to go over here to here. We'll start off with mine, just quickly. It is obviously Cell Surge, Victory Strike here. I decided to run a lot of Best of 1 tech, which is I think what actually saved me in this meta. Things like Vegeta's Final Flash. There was a game that I would have lost 100% if I didn't have this card. It allowed me to keep my field. I had Victory Strike on board, and I couldn't kill him the turn before. He went to use the Supreme Kai SCR on my board, and I Vegeta's Final Flashed it during battle before he could. So if I didn't have that, my board would have been gone, and my win con would have been gone. It would have just been too late to win. So lucky I had that. Some of the others pretty good. Otherwise, pretty standard, and you've already seen it. Let's go to second place. Philip Suarez. Apologise if I get any names wrong. Obviously, I've never spoken these names before. I've already seen them written, so I probably will get some wrong. Dark Broly. Dark Broly's pretty standard usually because you have so many pieces that you have to run these days. Cool that he runs the Piccolo Unison, and obviously Demigra. This was the card that I was worried about playing against Philip in the final. Luckily, he didn't see that card. He only had 2, which I think in this meta, if Victory Strike becomes a thing, you need to probably run 4 of these. Heartfelt Plea, of course, and it was cool to see things like Super Kamehameha and Protector of the People. And also, obviously, you got the Kai SCR, who ran 1 of each double striker, which was a bit of fun, I think. Third place was Cheyenne Tomayo's OG Broly. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if I've got that right. I apologize again if I get your name wrong. OG Broly's pretty standard. I haven't really looked at this build, but I have heard that this is pretty standard how you build it, which is cool. Obviously, the new Demonic Restraint making this deck a lot better. I'm surprised he didn't actually run any of the stuff from the Evolution Booster. Whether or not Cheyenne is from Australia, I'm not sure, or from Oceania. He might not have the EB yet. But this still took him to third place, which is really cool. Obviously, playing on low hand size, you got Sun Gohan Hidden Might to help with that. Very, very cool deck. Nearly got there with OG Broly, and that just impresses me so much. So, fourth place was Robert Rietzi with his RG launch. I played against Robert in the first round. He hit me with Flight of the Grand Eagle on my Victory Strike attack, so I couldn't finish him that turn. I had to survive his next turn. He couldn't get rid of Victory Strike, and I went for game then. But it was a tough matchup, and his deck looks really nice. Got some of the new Battle Evolution stuff, like Vegeta Royal Evolution, Vegeta the Insubordinate, King Vegeta, which is pretty much just a free arrival, I believe. That's why that's there. And a few Best of 1 techs, or a few techs such as 1 Frieza, 1 Flight of the Grand Eagle, which is cool to see. Next up was 5th place, another Cell Surge Victory Strike. This is much more similar to Eggman's version. He's playing Assimilate into the Piccolo Super Combo and the U7 Piccolo here. Not much to say about this. I think for consistency's sake, in my opinion, you'd run maybe 4 of these if you could fit them. Pan, I feel like, needs to be at 4 in this build if you're planning to play these guys using Pan, just because she's not searchable with Successor of Hope, so she's kind of just there. Like, you could bring Super Saiyan 3 Goku down to 3 and add Pan, another Pan in here. Again, and I felt like Intrepid Dynasty at 3 is probably overkill because you really want to see Scrambling Assault for the consistency rather than this guy. You only need him at 2, so you can grab him with Successor if you can't find a 2-drop. But yeah, Pan not being able to be searched with Successor means you might have to play Abrupt or Ultimate Form off your 4-drop. And the problem with that is Ultimate Form is only a 4 cost in hand if you go past 3 life, which just means it's kind of dangerous having that guy because you can't play him off the 4 cost if you do go to 3 life. And the 5-drop is not an amazing card, so it's much better to hit the Pan, hit both of the Gokus, and then you can potentially go into 2 Hope of Universe 7s, which is how I finished some games. It's very, very strong. Next up is Broly the Awakened Demon. Red Broly, Afridi Rahim, coming 6th place. This is pretty standard stuff. Red Broly is a very large deck. You need to have a lot of pieces for it. He's got some interesting tech like Unending Awakening and Super Saiyan 3 Son Goku, Man on a Mission, playing Heartfelt Plea, which I don't think I've seen, or anybody that I know anyway, play Heartfelt Plea in this deck, which is really cool tech. The other thing that I would mention is I've never seen anybody play Paralysis Technique in this deck, which I think would be a really cool negate. I don't know why people don't play it. Obviously, Unending Awakening is similar, giving your leader 5k for the turn, but sometimes Paralysis Technique, because your leader's a Red Frieza's army, is cool to just neg the board and really get rid of some things that can bother this deck, such as Dark Power Black Marseillan and things like that. It could be nice removal. Peter Bokta, 7th place, is Majin Vegeta. This, I really, really like this deck list when I saw it. It's not using the traditional Majin Buu chain in this deck at all, which I've seen going around, with the Ultimate deck Majin Buu and things like that. Not at all. This is a Frieza-based deck. It goes into the Surprise Attack and Xeno Ball into Xeno Frieza. It's very much a early aggro, cheap aggro deck, wide board. You're going to be playing a lot of cheap cards in this. You got Bardock Overwhelm into Beerus. Playing with a low hand size means Son Gohan and Supreme Kai of Time are very helpful. You got Belmod, just all those staples in a wide board like aggro deck. So this went really well. Obviously getting him 7th place. One of my teammates played against Peter and he said this deck was savage. So it's really cool to see something different. I really appreciate that this is not the standard build that people are throwing around at the moment, and I like that Peter's gone and done some theory crafting to get his deck the way he wants it. I think that's great. 8th place, what was that? 7th to 8th, correct. King Piccolo. Interesting to not see a King Piccolo higher than this. I think nearly everybody who placed higher ran some things to stop this deck, Koitsukai, Dark Power Black Marseillan and things like that, just because of how dominant it's been. So we might start seeing King Piccolo drop in standings, even though I know in the US the top 3 were King Piccolo. But now that it's getting so powerful, you're going to see people running a lot of tech against it. Even this King Piccolo player running Koitsukai, obviously to help him against the mirror matchup. All pretty standard stuff. Not much other than that Koitsukai that is very surprising in here. So let's go on to the next one. Jose Mercado, or Mercado, I apologize if I get the name wrong. Launch Invoker. So this is inverse to the last deck. It's very, very interesting, very different. Runs obviously the Invoker cards. You got Catastrophic Blow, going in for the burn with Energy Explosion and Rival Seeker. I was wondering when people played Invoker in other decks, because someone was playing Invoker Yamcha, how you get your extra cards in the drop area. And I mean, unless when you don't have Invoker on board, because he's not actually playing the 3-drop Invoker here, as you can see, the Vegeta. So what you do is you use Friendly Rival Freezer to put extra cards from the deck in the drop, and you use Android 18 to put them from your hand in the drop. Really, really interesting. Then you just got the Arrival defense until you can get the big guy out and burn life. Very, very cool. Next up, Seraphim Zang's. He would have been, what was this, 9th? So 10th, after 10, I stopped putting the number there for some reason. 10th place, Mecha Frieza. Seraphim said to me, this is pretty standard. I can't say I've looked too much into Mecha Frieza. Again, people running tech against Red Broly and King Piccolo. Also, obviously, affects other decks. The only thing I noticed in here that I haven't really seen, but I don't know if people run it, is Final Spirit Cannon. Very interesting card. I've never seen anybody play it before, so it's really cool to see people making use of that. Next up, Zach O'Donoghue's 11th place, Dark Broly. Pretty similar to the last one we saw, except there are a few differences, like the Heroine's Lineage SCR over the Kai, and he also runs Petrification, which is really good in this format, I think, especially when you have things like Dark Broly that this just shuts down. Red Broly, sorry, that this just shuts down. Very cool. Jason Stubbs, what are we up to? 12th place. Bulma Earthlings. The next two decks, this deck and the next one, are both Bulma Earthlings, and they are both pretty different, which is cool. This new Ultimate Shenron is a very cool card. I played against one of these decks, I can't recall which one it was, and the, +1 to play the Yamcha out, this one here, and that lets you draw every turn. Cool to see Fortune Teller Baba. I haven't seen anybody play that in a long time. This then lets you play the Vegito. It's very much defense, as Bulma always is. Testing the opposition is a really good negate. I love this card. And then, defense and stall until you get out these big boys. And then you got things like King Piccolo and SSB Kaioken. I got hit by this in my Bulma batch. It got rid of my 4-drop, so I had to reset the chain. Luckily, I was able to pull that out. Next up is Brayden with Bulma again. So a couple of differences here. He runs Nappa over the Raditz. He runs Frieza, and he runs Videl. Also Broly. These are all different cards that that Jason didn't run. A bit more tech against some of the decks in the format for Dark Cloud Black Marseillans. That surprised me. He's running this deck at 55 cards. Really, really cool. I like Bulma. I've always liked it as a deck, and it's very strong. This is a very consistent, lots of 4-ofs. Very good. Then we have William Lawson's Broly. Another Dark Broly running Heron's Lineage. He runs Son Goku, the Fighting Spirit, which we didn't see in the others. It's pretty much it, other than Bardock the Tenacious. I love this card. I think this is great. It's like a preemptive Nimbus. When you see your opponent with a wide board, you play that, and it kind of shuts them down for a turn, which is very nice. Next up is 14th place, Ethan Anguilla. I apologize, Ethan. I'm pretty sure I got your name wrong. Ethan sent me a little thank you to go with this. He wants to thank Peel Tan for giving him the deck idea from some US lists they saw, and also Blake for telling him to run, or saying he should run, Intersecting Fates, which he said was probably the MVP of the deck. Loving being able to search through everything for free, essentially, to find your pieces. The other thing that I love about this is just Rebirth of Justice into Full Power Freezer is so cool. Tapping 4 blue from hand means there's no red requirement for this card, and you get to play this guy and then kind of mill your opponent out. It could be a very nice surprise. I wouldn't expect... it might be going around, I don't know, but I wouldn't expect to see this card come out against this deck. I would be like, what is happening? And, potentially get milled out, which is really cool. Murray Chim and other cool tech. Kami, which I haven't seen in a long time. very, very good. I think this deck, it looks really solid. It's a nice mix of defense and offense, which usually Baby is very, very defensive and sometimes finds it hard to close off games, but I think this looks very solid. And finally, 16th place was Turles Umut Burkant. This is such a strong deck. Obviously, we've seen Turles before. This just runs... excuse me. This just runs the standard Turles build. Kill Driver, Fruit of the Tree of Might are this deck. They just kind of really destroy you. Even on leader swings, these two cards can really wreck you. He runs things like Sun Gohan, which we've seen a lot in this top 16. I thought this card looked good when it came out, but then I haven't really found a place for it because the green decks I play, or have been playing, like Gotenks, just draw so much that you don't ever get to that requirement of having 3 or less life. You just go hard. Very cool. Standard Overrealm stuff. Not much else to say about that. Now, there is one more deck list I wanted to go over, because this deck, this player, Peter Palivos, he was in the top 4, undefeated after 4 rounds, and during his round 5 game, he was DQ'd. I'm not going to go into that. I wrote a little description down here. Peter was disqualified from the top 4 due to camera disconnects and board state changes. I'm not going to comment on it, but I thought the deck deserved to be mentioned since it did get up there. If that didn't happen, he potentially would have been in the top 16. So this is just a very, standard Invoker. He runs SSB Kaioken though, which I haven't seen that often. And also Kai over the Secret Rare Goku Vegeta Victory Strike. Now, I'm not sure why that is. I haven't asked Peter, but it could just be that he didn't want to play the Apex because it's so expensive, or he thought that this was better in the meta because he goes for Catastrophic Blow kills, obviously. So that's the last deck. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check the description for all the deck lists, links if you want to click through and look at them. Again, guys, love ya. Let me know what you think in the comments. Cheers.